Good evening, everyone. How are you tonight? Don't mind my garb. I'm wearing this scarf my wife bought me today. She came home, she's like, I bought this, and it just had your name on it. And I thought, isn't that funny? You know, a gold scarf for a guy. But, you know, anyway, I actually really like it. I wear some really weird stuff when I go out to certain events. I mean, I'll wear like onesies with a tail, or my wolf hat, stuff like that. That's just my thing, and it's because I like to let loose, be myself. I found that it's letting go and being primal and just releasing your energy out at events is such a wonderful experience that very few things compare to it. I mean, I've been through a lot of experiences, marriage, having kids, going through crisis, losing people, meeting people, falling in love, all these things that we've experienced in life, but they all come and go. If we want to endure and continue these experiences, this nostalgia, creating nostalgia, because today we create nostalgia for tomorrow. And I'm always aware of that, so I know that the weird things I do today that may be like, meh, whatever, maybe going to an event out of the blue or something, I'll end up really reminiscing about that in the future. And ultimately, when we talk about how life flies by, what else is there but reminiscing? And reminiscing means that we have events that we remember. It's been my own personal theory that life goes by faster when we don't do anything. So in other words, when we just sit around all day and do the exact same thing, even if we don't just sit around all day, if we get stuck in a routine where we don't break that routine, our brains get so wrapped up in the bullshit that we forget what it's like to just go on vacation for a week, and enjoy ourselves. So many people are workaholics to the point where they won't even take a break, and I'm like, that's personal choice, and I totally respect that if that's what moves you, but I firmly believe that people are happier when they experience nature around them and go out and do things than sitting around in the office trying to make more money. It's always been the conundrum of the person who wants to provide for their family, so they work like 15 hours a day, come home and sleep, and go do it all again, over again, working 80 hours a week, never seeing your children grow up, and all of a sudden one day you say, wow, I've made pretty good money, but all I've done is spend it on newer cars and a bigger house, and I don't have anything to show for it. To me, the ultimate gift and the ultimate gain in life is the experiences and our family and connections. And that's what I wanted to talk about really in this video, was the connection of friends. I have one of my best friends coming over tonight. His name's Scott. We've been friends since he was like 12 and I was like 14 or something, 15, and he was, at that point, 12 and 15 is a huge spread. He's my brother. He was my brother's age, my younger brother. And we kind of had our differences and opinions at a certain period in our in our relationship, but for the most part, when we were kids, we were both stoner dudes who loved dead shows and had long hair, and we're totally the hippie type, and as I became, say, 18 and he was more like 15, we became more friends rather than him and my brother originally. Anyhow, he's coming over tonight, and it's funny because he's kind of a homebody like me and doesn't like to leave much. He had some issues in the past, so he's been living, staying, basically he works from home like I do, but he doesn't have his own family. He stays with his parents at the moment, but he pays his share, carries his load, and does all that. He actually carries more than his load. He's a great guy, and we've known each other for so long. He went through a stage where his brother was in the Iraq War, and at that point, he was, let's just say, he was in a different state of mind, and he was very argumentative, and he was very right-wing, right-leaning, and we would argue about things. When the bombs fell, and originally in Baghdad, I cried. I remember just being like, this is going to be a horrible war. And I remember he was a bartender, and he told me, oh, this will be over quick. We'll go in and wipe them out. And I said, this will probably be longer than Vietnam. And then, here we are 15 years later, right? Well, he's changed his tone, not because of that or anything else, but because he kind of came out of that moment in his life. His brother was in the war. He was in the military, so of course he's going to defend his older brother, you know, and you want to make these connections in your head to why we do the things we do. Join the military, go off to war. Like this whole conflict, somebody mentioned the other day that Oregon raised their, not just vaping, the guys at the store told me they raised their vaping age in Oregon to 21. And I don't know what to think about that. You know, I understand a society needs to set its standards. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's oppression. I know that kids shouldn't smoke. Nobody should smoke. When I found out that it was smoking age to 21 too, I was really surprised, and I thought that that is very invasive and it's not the right approach. But I do understand what they're trying to accomplish. The tobacco companies hate this. When people talk about conspiracies and how it's all about money, it's not always about money. By raising the smoking age to 21, the tobacco companies are losing millions, if not billions of dollars. So people will still smoke, of course, and whatnot. But the point being that we allow more and more of this into our life. And I don't know how I got completely off track from the main point that I was trying to talk about, which was friends. So I'm just going to backtrack and go completely back to where I was at. Friends, and my friend that's coming over, he's coming over tonight and he's going to stay with me for 2 nights. And I haven't seen him in not that long, you know, a couple month maybe. But he's a really good guy, but he just doesn't get out, doesn't do anything. And when I try to pull him out to go to concerts with me, because I go to some concerts by myself, or I like, you know, electronic music, I like glitch hop, you know, things that some people don't like. I like Excision and you know, Infected Mushroom, shirt I'm wearing right now. All kinds of different weird bands that he doesn't like, and that's fine. But whenever we do connect on a certain band, like the Grateful Dead, and we got our Dead tickets and we're stoked, we do those things. We do those things and try to embrace that nostalgia and create a future for ourselves where we can remember the past. And he's staying tonight, and as he's coming in from the airport from Hawaii, his grandmother died a while back, so they buried her and cleaned her house out, and he's coming back, and I'm picking him up at the airport in about 45 minutes. Then I'm going to bring him back here. I'm hoping I can convince him to do a video with me, and then I'm going to, maybe not tonight, but he's staying tonight, and then he's staying all day tomorrow, and then tomorrow night, it's Friday, we have a concert to go to, the Dark Star Orchestra. Now, they're a Grateful Dead cover band. And then they're playing for 2 nights, Friday and Saturday. He's going with us on Saturday, but for some reason he's not going tomorrow. And he just wants to stay here and hang out and maybe watch the kids. I think that's kind of strange. I think maybe if he wants to go, I'll buy him a ticket. But anyhow, I'm excited to be able to hang out with a friend, is the main point of this video. And you know, it's awesome. You know, I have been really, I wouldn't say that, I mean, I've taken my friends and my relationships for granted for all my life. Maybe it's because I lost my dad when I was young. I can make all kinds of excuses of, you know, people who have ripped me off. I mean, for a while I didn't want to make any new friends after 2 of my best friends stole from me, you know, family heirlooms and whatnot. Those were back in the tweaker days. They were in a different state of mind. I got over that, forgave people. I've gotten past it, and I trust people. I trust people maybe to a fault, but I believe that trusting people and getting screwed over sometimes can be better than not trusting anyone at all. It goes along the lines of like all the other sayings. It's better to have loved and lost a love than never loved it at all. It's better to have tried a new career or job or something than to have, we regret not trying more than we regret failing. And failing is an experience of growth. So for me, picking up new friends is very difficult because of my life, my situation, which maybe one day I'll talk about. Maybe I've sat in front of my recorder here, my little Tascam, which I use to take. This is my personal notes. I erase the videos, but I keep my audio. And you know, one day I might go back and go through these things, but I try to take notes of thoughts of my past, and I'd love to do, you know, for a personal, I have recorded my own personal history to remind myself, and try to remember these things, you know, for what it's worth, because when it's all gone, it's gone. It doesn't matter. I'm not, you know, hanging on to the past at all. In fact, you know, it's funny because I might be considered a pack rat by some. I cleaned out my whole garage, you know, in the last couple of days with my wife. She kind of motivated me, and I have so many hobbies and stuff, not to mention my herb business and my stereo obsession, record obsession, my tools, which take up a majority of space, because I was a carpenter until my back got fucked up. But I really enjoy doing a lot of different things, which requires a whole lot of different stuff, because whenever I need something, I have it. When I need a wire or a cable, I have it. When I need a certain type of tape, or, you know, a paper cutter or shredder, or, you know, a bucket, I have it. That's my style, that's what I do. But it's funny to, like, grow up and see how all of us are so different. My friend Scoey, the guy who's coming tonight, is totally different than me. He's a very clean, very neat kind of guy. I worked on his condo for a while when he lived with his brother and helped him remodel it. And he was always behind me, basically with a dustpan, somewhat metaphorically, but more literally, cleaning up every single piece of dust from doing a full-blown, like, flooring remodel and new molding and everything. And some people are clean freaks, some people aren't. Him and I are complete opposites in our, you know, in that regard, but we're great friends. We're tight friends, and we do anything for each other. So I guess the reason and the message I'm trying to convey here is that, you know, don't take your friends for granted. Don't take your family for granted. Don't take any of this for granted. No matter what's happened to you in the past, no matter what situations you may have endured, no matter what kind of victim we are, because we're all victims. But we're also all heroes. We're all champions. You know, it's heartbreaking to hear messages from subscribers who say that they're suicidal. And I've gotten more than a few of those in personal emails and messages. And it's heartbreaking also to hear people who, you know, say that their life has no meaning and that it's worthless. I want people to know that we all go through that. We all go through moments of, holy fuck, what does this even mean? But you know what? What matters the most is that we get over it and realize it will get better. And that means having friends can help us through that. And so we may think that we're independent, we're strong, but we need people. We are communal creatures. We are social creatures. You know? That's the way I see it. I mean, it may be completely delusional on my part. I better see what time it is here. Okay, it's only 7:30. I'm all paranoid about picking him up. Make sure I get there on time. You know, sometimes I question why I still have a YouTube channel, and I think because I want to inspire people to do better. And sometimes I feel like an idiot for even talking about some of the things I do, and I think, why do I feel like an idiot? Because I'm self-conscious, and that self-consciousness and that, you know, ego issue is what we all have, and that's what makes it hard for us to discuss things with one another. I may be brave enough to wear a frickin' burqa on camera, if you will. I don't know, I don't call it that, it's just a scarf, but and wear funky clothes and talk about subjects that others wouldn't. And the more subscribers I get, the harder it is to, like, talk about something that's really controversial. I don't even want to get into it, because it's not because I'm afraid of argument. It's because I don't like to argue. I don't like wasting my time. I don't like to, you know, argue with flat earthers about whether Tesla really launched a car into space the other day, you know. Even my own, you know, somebody close to me even texted me and said that, you know, do you really think that Tesla launched a car into space? And I said, well, we've got an independent billionaire who's probably having a midlife crisis and has a lot of money to spare and owns a car company and a space rockets. Why wouldn't he launch a car into space? You know, if you talk to the flat earthers, they say, well, the missile just, you know, the rocket just probably crashed into the ocean, you know, because they can't believe space exists. It's, you know, beyond their comprehension because of what they've heard. You know, they've woken up. And so that's what I mean about it's not worth arguing and not worth talking about controversial shit, because it just brings in lunatics that I don't want to deal with. No offense to people who believe conspiracies, but it took me nowhere. And believe me, from 98 to about 08, maybe 11, about 13 years. I studied every conspiracy, every black ops program, Project Blue Book, and every other UFO program, every piece of meat and potatoes that had to do with UFOs, reptilians, aliens, you know, where Alex Jones got his origin with William Cooper, who wrote Behold a Pale Horse, big-ass huge book about government conspiracies that I read. You know, I've been down the road and watched the internet grow and repeat these same stories over and over, and found that, you know, all of that shit is just a distraction from us just having real friends. And that's what I mean by bringing that up. You know, to think we belong to a flat earth society that tells us that the earth is flat. You know, let's just say it was. So fucking what? You know, why dedicate your time to that? Why not put it into something important? Now that we've always said NASA lies, and then, you know, they say the government lies, and then now that it's an independent person, a billionaire who has the money to do it, has no reason to lie at all, you know, he's part of the conspiracy now. Everybody who doesn't agree with people is a shill or a liar or a fraud. And so, backing up a little bit, to me, rather than be controversial and spend time arguing, you know, it's more important to me to make connections, because connections are important. Good people who care. Not that anyone's better or worse, but that I want people who I can talk to, who I feel comfortable with, because we do group within certain thought patterns and values. And I like meeting people who are intelligent and like-minded, because that's who we are as humans. And so that's why I'm grateful to have friends. You know, I only have a few real good personal friends, and I don't see them very often, and that's probably my fault. You know, my own brother who lives up, you know, an hour away, I haven't seen him in probably a year. I complain because he doesn't come down here. I don't complain, but I say, you know, well, I've got a family, I have 3 kids and a wife, and, you know, a house here where I live and have to watch the kids while my wife's at work. You know, why can't he come down? But at the same time, on her day off, I could go up there, and I know that. And so maybe this is a call to other people to stop justifying why we don't see our friends and family, and also a message to myself to remember and remind myself that these connections we have today are what matter. They really are, because life is short, happiness is fleeting, and with family and friends, we can bring forth nostalgia and experiences on a level that's anything beyond what we can do by ourselves. So, I bid you all farewell, have a good night, and take care.